I would like to close by stating Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's words when he was challenged by Canadians across the country with regards to the $10.5 million payout to satisfy the settlement regarding the violation of Omar Khadr's rights. He said, "The measure of a just society is not whether we stand up for people's rights when it is easy or popular to do so. It's whether we recognize rights when it is difficult. When it's unpopular, we are a society that stands up for people's rights, and when governments fail to respect people's rights, we all end up paying. And that is a lesson that hopefully future governments will draw from this settlement."
And it is important not to conflate, either in this committee or in front of these witnesses, the difference between terrorism that occurred in Afghanistan and torture that this government was complicit with in Guantanamo. And after 2 consecutive defeats in the Supreme Court of Canada on this very issue, when Mr. Cooper's party ostensibly believes in reducing court backlog and courtroom delay, it really begs the logical question as to why one would return to the courts, which we all seem to agree are clogged, with yet another likely failed charter claim. So apropos of that, Ms. Basnicki, if we can agree that addressing court backlog is an important imperative of this bill, is settlement of cases a way of reducing court backlog?
I'd like to respond with that the Charter, as it stands, does not define victims' rights. I worked on the Victims' Bill of Rights, and I'm only asking that my rights are regarded as are Mr. Khadr's rights are regarded. I am not here to take away from Mr. Khadr's rights. I'm only suggesting that as a victim, I should have rights too. Mr. Khadr was a self-confessed terrorist, not in an act in Afghanistan, well, perhaps the venue was Afghanistan, but was convicted and self-confessed in the U.S. I am a Canadian citizen. He committed his crime, not alleged, but convicted, outside our country. I'm only asking, as a Canadian citizen, as he is, that I have rights too. And it would appear that there is no balance in this as it stands right now. He belonged to the very organization that was complicit in the murder of my husband, Al-Qaeda. You can only imagine how I feel when I see my government give him $10.5 million for a violation of rights, and I am at the same time begging my country to afford me rights as a victim and a Canadian citizen who was married to a Canadian citizen that lived in Canada.
Pardon me? So I'll pass that over to Ron. I'll just make sure that the record reflects that Mr. Khadr is also a Canadian citizen, Ms. Basnicki. But your point is...
Yes, I pointed it out. I'd like the court, I'd like to remind you that I'm a Canadian citizen.